Basically, the way this whole started was I started making my action plans based off of my data from their benchmarks. So if you notice right here, this whole group of students in December had not come close to meeting their benchmarks. So I kind of was trying to come up with a plan. I'm big on analyzing data, so I was looking at their data and trying to figure out what to do, and then I realized that maybe it would benefit them to start looking at their own data. So that's kind of how this whole goal setting came into place. I started off with just their first test that they had. They looked at it. If you notice how the class is running, they're pretty much self-sufficient now in it. And since then, every one of these students, when we just took our last benchmark, actually mastered their goals. So it clearly proves that it has worked. What I do is I went through and I wrote down each standard and what student was either meeting, not meeting, or making progress. And then they complete DIP homework, and I would mark if they were making progress or not making progress. The highlighted shows the students that were what they specifically worked on. I don't tell them what they have to work on. They work on what they want to work on. And then I also use my action plans and the data that I collect to pull a small group, which is what I will be doing now. Up until this point, I was only pulling for my action plans just because those were the students who were at risk for not meeting their goals. Now that everyone has met their goals, I'm going to start going based off of my class data. So what I've printed is Form A, B, and C, and I've looked at trends. I've written down the different standards that they are strong and weak in, and then their averages from A, B, and C. Across the board, I've noticed that conversions are still one of the lowest, as well as division. So today I'm going to be pulling for conversion, specifically in word problems, because that's where I've been noticing a lot of the trends to notice that that's the difficult part. And then after that, I'm going to pull for division, because that's still one of my low standards. So that's how I plan on building my small groups for today. Okay guys, so today we're going to continue with our goal setting. So can someone kind of give me an overview of what we've been doing so far with our goal setting? How did we actually set our goals? Go ahead, Matthew.
We analyze our data and we put it into writings and make it so that we are more understanding the way that we do it.
Okay, so I love that you use the word analyze, but what does analyze actually mean to you or someone else? What does analyzing actually mean? Dobby.
To look at your data and actually see what your data is.
Okay, so when you're looking at your data, Dobby, what are you actually looking for?
The stuff that you said and corrected it, and stuff that I might have made mistakes on or that I did good with that.
Okay, so you're looking for things that you're strong in and then some of your weaknesses. Okay, anyone else? Andre.
We're also looking for things to work on, like differentiated homework.
Okay. So how are you picking your differentiated homework?
It depends on what I'm doing.
Okay, so you're going off of things that you got. When you pick something that's wrong, how are you picking specifically what to work on? When you looked at your data, what did you pick? Did you pick your lower ones, your middle ones? Okay, why?
Because I think that I wanted to get it out before I get my medium one up, because my medium one is a little hot.
Okay, good. Anyone else want to add to it? Anyone else? No, we're good? Okay, so when we're analyzing our data, you're looking for your strongest strands. Give yourself a pat on the back for that, because that's awesome that you mastered those. Then we're going to look for the ones that we're making progress on but still haven't mastered it all the way. And then we're going to look for our lowest ones. I'm giving you a heads up on Form C. Across the board, we all got one standard very low. However, it's multiplying with mixed numbers. Is that something that we've done yet? So that's why it's your lower standard. So I'm going to ask if you don't set a goal in that yet, because we haven't learned it yet. We're going into that in the next unit, okay? Other than that, pick whatever you'd like. I'm going to give you Form A, you have Form B with you, and Form C. Why do you think I'm giving you all three? Lucas.
So we can, like, see and compare the schools together and see how it's supposed to
Good, so you're going to look for your growth. Andre.
Maybe we see, like, what we got wrong on the first one, and see if we made progress on the
Good. How many of you made progress from Form A to Form B to Form C? Everyone's hand should be up because you all met your goal in here, which is outstanding. So give yourself a pat on the back, because that's outstanding, guys. So all of your should have gone up. What I would like you to do is look at your specific goals you set, and I want you to compare them to the scores. If it was a goal you worked on, what should happen to your score? It should what, Riley? It should go up, right? So see if you're actually seeing that correlation. So I'm going to give you A and C. You're going to look over it. You guys can talk to your neighbors, and you're going to set a new goal. You're also going to see if you met your goals from the past. Just a reminder, you have this one that is for the blue side. It says critiquing and analyzing your personal goals. Don't forget, you have to write, I met my goal, I'm still working towards my goal but making progress, or I'm having difficulty. Is that enough, just writing that? Kel, what else do you have to include?
How you're going to meet your goal.
Okay, so how you're going to meet your goal, Lucas?
What your goal is, because not everyone has the same goal.
Okay. Anyone else? Matthew?
How you're going to, if you don't pass it, then how you're going to do it again.
Okay, awesome. Don't forget to include what's working and what's not working. What you need to change to make that progress if you haven't made it. Any questions before we get started? All right, we're going to start passing out your data, and you guys can go ahead and get started. Ash, you want to help us?
I want you to look at first is look at your hundreds, because I guarantee you from Form A to Form B and then all the way up to Form C, how many hundreds have you increased by? Because that means you've mastered it. So do you see how I've laid mine out like this? I suggest you do it in the same order so it's easy for you to look through. Then what I would do, when you were highlighting, what were you highlighting earlier? What kind of things? I see yours is all highlighted. What did you highlight, Michaela?
All the things I needed help with.
Okay, so what do you think you should do for Form C now? Good, and then compare it to Form B, okay? Andre, what are you thinking?
I know that we haven't learned this yet, and
Okay.
I know I got a 0 on it because we were learning. But I got everything 100 except for the first one, and this one, convert amongst different size standards, measurements, units within a given measurement system.
Good. So today, when you are allowed to pick your center, what center do you think you're going to work on?
Conversion measurements.
Okay, and do you think you're going to set your goal and do your diff homework in that as well?
Yes.
Did you have that many hundreds when you started from Form
I
A?
had 0
You had 0 hundreds when you started. On Form B, how many hundreds did you have?
4.
4, and now you have 8. That's outstanding. Keep up the good work, okay? So you can set your goal in that. Make sure to check and critique yours off of this. Okay, so let's look at this. So this was Form A. So we have a lot more zeros here, right? So let's look at what we've improved on. So this one was read and write decimals. Where are we here? Read and write decimals. You've gone from a 0 to a 67%. So are you making progress in that? So I think this is definitely an improvement, and I would check off that we're definitely making progress in those. Measuring volumes by counting cubes. Where's that on here? So we went from a 0, and what do you have now? A 33. So let's write that next to here so that we know what we have, bless you, so we know where we're working towards. That might be something that you might want to work on. Let's continue looking.
Now, you're allowed to work with whoever you like, as long as you're working towards the same standard. And I don't care where you sit in the room, as long as you're what? Working. What kind of talk should I hear? Math talk. We're not talking about the games this week or anything. We're talking about math. So if you find someone else who has the same goal as you, that's fine. You could also find someone who might have gotten 100 in that standard to work together towards that as well, like we were doing yesterday. All right, the first thing I have put out over here are the place value maps. So if you're working on place value, you can use this to compare decimals, round decimals. You can work with a partner on those. There's also place value diff worksheets if you'd like to work on those. We're going to have spend and save out because that's adding and subtracting with decimals, which after looking at your test yesterday was kind of a lower one. I have division dash and remainder tic-tac-toe because division is still across the board a lower standard. Lastly, the one that I want to work on is conversions because that is also our really low one. Across here, here's the converting units. You guys have played this in the past. If you want to do any other games, you guys know where the games are. As long as you can justify what you're doing, I'm fine with you doing that. So does anyone have any questions before we begin? All right, you guys can finish your goals, start your centers. Just let me know. We're going to come around and ask you what you're working on and why you're working on it.
Nice. So from 0 to 100 on one standard, so then what goal are you working on now?
That one, because
But didn't
last time I got 100, and then now when I looked at
so
the
now I'm going to give you a little bit of a
I
harder
went
problem.
down, so I
You're
know
still
that I
gonna
had
use
to
the same
practice
steps.
it.
And then
And
we'll
then
talk
I'm
through it.
trying,
Does that
and
sound
then
good?
so I could go up again.
So what centers did you work on today?
Yep, you're going to do this by yourself. and then we'll
I went
discuss it.
back to
Guys, how you
conversion,
doing over
and
here?
I also
Jane, on your
went
time,
because I got
where's
one
your
of the multiply with decimals, and I got that one wrong. So I just want to make sure that I actually have it on.
320.
Work on that too, but
Actually,
I
let's
got it right.
Awesome. So what are you going to work on
Let's
next?
try
Now I'm thinking
96 divided by 4.
probably convert.
And that's what, so that was your center work with Miss Farrell?
I was
So I
right.
guess
4 times 4 is 1 is
You'll pull the center
4
work?
times 2
Yeah.
I think they're
is
working on it over there. If you want to
4 times 3 is 12.
Thanks.
So I see that Davi has an answer. So Davi, can you walk us through how you got your answer?
Well, since we did the visual and she said 2 spots, I got 18. But then I knew there was 2 spots, so I had to pick the number of spots. So I did 18 divided by 2 and I got 9.
Comments? What do we think? Ureli?
He's correct because it's 2 sides, so you're going to do 18 divided by 2 and then it's again.
Good. Did you think that until he talked? Or what were you thinking? You were thinking the answer was what? Okay, so did the visual help to see that you had to divide by 2 because we realized that when I pulled it this way, it was
I want to work on conversions because on my test I only got a 67 with it, and all of my other ones were 100 except for the one that we didn't mark yet. How do you subtract gallons from quarts? It's like you need a common denominator. In here you need a common label. So it would, listen, because
No, but this is saying her park can hold 16 gallons, so you don't even need that if there are 37 quarts.
yeah, it can hold 16 gallons, and she has 37 quarts. So we already said 16 gallons is 64 quarts, and she only has 37 quarts. So how many more quarts does she need to fill out to see how many more? No, you would subtract it to get the answer. No, it's because that's how much she has out of the 60 gallons. Yeah, so you subtract it, and that's whatever you get will be how much more you eat. Yeah. Yeah, so that's
Number card. I mean, so you convert that many of your first you can use student reference book page 0 to 28. For example, if you roll the sum of 6 and draw a 14 card, you will convert 14 minutes. Rate number sentence to record your conversion. For example, 15 minutes equals 820 seconds. Rate an expression for the calculation needed. For example,